Welcome, everyone. I'm Chari Elam with the Bee Supply Monthly Magazine. And when I say I am excited about something, I say that every month, but this one, I've been working on this one in my head and in my heart for years. I've been wanting to introduce and talk with in public with Dr. Joe Carson. And I'm going to let him tell about himself, but I have known of this gentleman for years because of a very important product that he happens to be the inventor of. And I knew about it. It was a great product all those years ago when we started beekeeping. And look who I've got. I'm so excited. Dr. Joe Carson, welcome. Welcome. Thanks for joining me.
So good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. So it's good to be here today. And it was good to meet you earlier this year. And so now we get to talk a little bit more as opposed to being in the airport.
That's right. That is where we talked and got to know each other really well. It was in the airport, wasn't it? Hey, you're a traveler. So if I got one opportunity to meet you and it was in an airport, that's probably a drop in the bucket for you. So tell our listeners about yourself, and why am I talking to you today?
Well, I'm a fourth generation Alaskan. I grew up in a farming livestock environment. My family were farmers for generations in Russia and in Sweden, and in all those times they kept bees as well. They moved to Alaska in 1912, and so our family is the oldest beekeeping family in the state of Alaska. We are the oldest family represented at the state fairs in the state of Alaska, other than as a non-native, other than indigenous people. So we've been around in the industry, and what we found out is that in our lifestyle, farming, if you don't take care of your livestock or your farm, then you are not in business. And so I've always been interested in it. I went to college when I was 16 years old and was interested in nutrition, medicine, and things like that. So it was a natural segue to not just human medicine, not just livestock medicine, but honeybee medicine or health and welfare was a natural, just a transition for me in life.
That's awesome. Well, and when I say this, I mean it. You are one of those ultra interesting people. I mean, if anyone, I can tell y'all now, if you see him in an airport, stop him, because you will fill someone's brain with the most intellectual, deep information when it comes to anything, livestock and bees included, because in Texas, they are they're afforded the benefits of livestock. They're not technically livestock, but they are afforded the benefits of it. Your depth of knowledge is incredible, and I am truly an admirer of that. So the product that I wanted you to be here for this month was to talk about Complete. Complete is a product that the Bee Supply carries, and we're very proud to carry and sell a ton of. And I use my share. So talk to us about that product and where it began and what it is. Okay.
It's really simple. There's a kind of it's like a fork, and so when you're holding onto the handle, there's a couple of prongs, and a couple of those prongs come together to make that fork in a complete unit. I started out going to college, and I was doing anthropological and archaeological digs, and I was studying on ancient medications and ancient naturopathic remedies, plant pharmacologicals, nutraceuticals, things like that. And so there was a war many years ago in Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was in great turmoil, and so the United Nations and other people got together to develop medications to be able to drop into these people that were dying of dysentery. There was a very problem. So all the people were drinking surface water. When they're doing slaughtering of individuals in these areas of ethnic cleansing, they were taking big bulldozers, D8s, D9s, and larger than that, making big ruts, slaughtering people, putting them in there, driving the bulldozers on top of them, compacting them down. But then that was the water system. And so then you look 40 feet away, there's going to be women and children bathing in this water. They're drinking this water. They're washing their clothes in this water. They're washing their dishes in this water. And they were having all of these intestinal issues. I mean, great. Water's the number one killer or savior in the world as far as an element goes.
Okay.
So that being the case, then we were part of a team. We said, okay, what can we do naturopathic, naturally to do this? as opposed to allopathic. Allopathic is write a prescription, and naturopathic is, of course, let's find out what is natural that we can do. So we came up with some remedies and how they could do it, and gave them that information. They could produce it naturally from the plants. They did some of the derivatives, some of the extracts, some of the tinctures, and it totally cleaned up, totally cured all these issues that they had heretofore been literally dying by the droves of. So they were dying in bucket loads. Well, just look at that a bit further. The livestock is drinking that same water.
Right.
Okay. The honeybees were drinking the same water. So then we went through the back door. We standardized these same naturopathic nutraceuticals, plant pharmacologicals, and we standardized that for the honeybee, and it cleaned up the honeybee. And so we took those elements, and so we took some of those things that I know about, that we did, and this was over many years that we perfected this. And then we took the education that I had when I was in my anthropological and archaeological digs, and we juxtaposed and we put these back together, and we came up with these naturopathic remedies over a number of years. I started this in 1978. So it's been a few years. So we came together and we found out that with natural growing elements, if you take what God gives us, then it's an amazing thing. You can actually take care of a vast majority of the ailments that man is causing in most cases, whether it's through single source pollination, whether it's single source the fields that we have today, the pesticides, herbicides, the fungicides, the mildicides, all these things. So if we can come up with some natural occurring, natural organic elements and herbs and plants and the nutritional force of that, put that together. And so we came up with these products, and we came up with a product many years ago called Optima. Optima works fantastic. We came up with a product called Nosovit. Then we came up with Nosovit Plus. And my common customers got, say, 6,000, 10,000, up to, say, 60,000 hives. They said, Dr. Carson, we love your products, but can't you just make one complete product? And I said, yeah, we're going to make a complete product, and we're going to call it Complete. And so therefore we made the product Complete, which is the culmination of decades of trial and error and testing and testing and testing and testing and proving. And it absolutely is, no question, takes care of any of the dysentery, any of the Nosema cerana, originally Nosema apis, totally, when it's tested. And it's not just us testing in-house. Every time we go into a separate country in Europe, it goes through about 3 years of testing per country through their university system. So they have to prove it in the university, then they have to prove it in the lab, then they prove it on the apiary that's in that university system, and then they work in conjunction with the beekeepers in the area. And once they prove that, then they come to us and they say, this is exactly what you can't put on your label. We can't change one jot or tittle. We can't change a comma, period, or anything. Otherwise, we go through this whole process again. And so then we did that. And so they tell us that our product Complete, in essence, and these others, is for the total eradication of Nosema. We have to say that. We are required to say that. So we are the #1 natural remedy for Nosema, for any intestinal things. This is not even counting the benefits of the nutritional, of all the other 156 ingredients in there. But so Complete is my customers. This is probably not the best marketing ploy, because we took all these products, we put it into one and called it Complete. So we don't have we don't have 5 products out there. We're trying to sell each one of these things and say, use a drip and drop and drop and drop and drop and put it all together and buy $5,000 worth. So they buy one product, and it has, we cannot put anything more in this product to keep it in suspension. It is so packed. There is 0 filler in Complete. We are in probably, we guesstimate, because of the amount that we sell, we're at least in 50% of all the hives in North America. Wow. And so when you look into the major patty makers in America, we are the vast majority of the requested patty for having a supplement. Complete is probably the #1 requested supplement to put in a patty by the patty makers, whether it's any of the big name patty makers you can think out there.
Yeah. We have Global that carries.
Right. Global makes literally bazillion pounds. I don't know. Many years ago, I went up to Global. I know Mike well. He's a great guy, and his son. And here's what we need to do in order to add it to, and this is the formula, and this is how we add it to, and so they've been a little bit successful, I'd say.
Yeah, a little. I am not at all surprised that your calculations put you at 50% of national hives. It is that good, and anybody watching this and hasn't tried it, I dare you. So when you started, were the testing, I mean, you had to start here and then go, but you know, you don't start here with anything, do you, Dr. Carson? You start here. So did you go big or did you start small and with the studies that were wrapped around this? How did that work?
We started out originally doing smaller studies throughout about 6 or 8 countries. To us, that's a small study. We did a study from every country from Spain all the way to every country in all the European Union, all the UK, all of Eastern Europe, all the way down to northern Turkey. All of those countries, every single one is where we studied it in, because we wanted to make sure that we weren't temperature sensitive. You have to make sure that your flora and fauna, maybe you're really good. I can tell you that there are certain products that don't work well on the market today in certain climatic conditions.
So true.
Okay, so we understand that. We wanted to make sure that what we were providing was going to work in every single area, whether you're in Russian bees. In Alaska, we run bees at we were averaging about 2 weeks a year at minus 65. And we wintered as well as 100% success at minus 65 degrees Fahrenheit, wind chill at 128 below. And if you can go ahead and do that, people say, well, you know what, we've got it figured out. We've got folks down in California where it's going to get 117. We're going to be parts of Arizona and Nevada where it's going to be extremely warm as well. And so we wanted to make sure that it was not just a microclimate applicable, type of a product. So it does work well. We don't release one product into the world unless it goes through 9 years of testing.
Wow.
9
Well, it's
years.
not a fluke. It's certainly not a fluke. We've run into, you talk about different products having environmental, the environment affects their efficacy.
Right.
Not to double that,
Yeah.
but our humidity, because we are humid.
Right. Oh yeah.
I'm in Southeast Texas and it's a sauna out there
Right.
a lot of the year, and it makes zero difference with your product, none. But there are other products that it does. It breaks it down,
Right.
start to separate, things don't
Sure.
work.
And what happens as well is you have to make sure that we ran a lot of bees over Midland, Odessa, because we wanted to try it in Midland, Odessa, and not just the hill country, not just. And so I'm very familiar with Texas, and whether you're going to be in Amarillo, whether you're going to be in Lubbock, but the reality is it has to work. And so temperature, some products, they vent off too much, they evaporate too much. Some products, if you got too much humidity, then the humidity affects some of the things, and you're going to get molds, mildews, and things in there, and you're going to exacerbate some of the problems that you have. You're compounding it, so you're doing. So we want to make sure, and Complete, absolutely, we do zero advertising for Complete. We do absolutely zero. We're not out there beating the bushes. We have not gone out like other companies have paid $3 million to fund tests to come up with the results that we want. I can literally, in politics, you can go out and you can do a survey and you can come back with whatever you want your survey to say, given the right questions, then you can extract certain answers. So we're not doing that. The only way we grow, literally the only way in all these years that I've been doing this since 1978, is through word of mouth. That's the only way we grow. And if it doesn't work, people are not going to buy it.
They're not. And and I'm a firm believer in that. The product sells itself. It's kind of like, and each beekeeper will kind of attest to this. Our honey sells it. So either sells or it doesn't sell itself.
Right.
We call that first jar bait. And I tell my customers that, well, that's really what that little bottle of Complete is. It's bait. I dare you. Because once you use it, you'll never, ever stop using it because it's that good. And I understand you not having to advertise it. Our ability to educate is where we are with it, is that because there's new beekeepers coming in every day, and they're just not aware. So we're using this platform, and that's why I wanted you here so badly this time of year, was to make sure that everyone is aware that this is something that I'm not even gonna say it's optional. Nutrition is not optional for our bees.
Right.
Talking about the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, aquicides. I have bees that fell to that death of an aquicide used locally in my subdivision. how does the products in incomplete, how does that help strengthen the bees? I hesitate to put any words in your mouth. Is it immune system or are their guts? What is it? What is it helping?
What you want to do, you're going to have 156 different ingredients in there, and every one of these are going to be nutrition. Remember 7-Eleven, and their famous motto was location, location, location. And the same thing with Walgreens, on the corner of happy and healthy. So you have to know what you've got. With complete, you have nutrition, nutrition, nutrition. When you have the fundamental building blocks to build to the greatest ability, the genetic disposition given of that bee to have it to be as healthy as it can be. You and I are right now walking around, we're carriers of influenza, chicken pox, measles, mumps, all this other stuff. But none of that is exhibiting itself. Mm-hmm. Same thing in the bees. When you exceed their threshold, their ability to naturally fight off these pathogens, these pests, these environmental stressors, then what happens is then it gets above that, and then it's like playing the jungle. You pull out the bottom and everything starts falling down. Mm-hmm. If we can build up their natural immunity system, give them all the plant polyphenols, give them all the nutritional things they need to do, give them the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, all the building blocks they need to have micro, macronutrients, then what happens is they're going to do the very best they can at fighting off the diseases that they're exposed to. Mm-hmm. One thing that Complete does, and a lot of people don't understand this, is that it actually will give you a verifiable 82% greater brood viability because of the nutritional boost that you get by using it. It is absolutely, it's computer measured number of actual cells turning into viable working bees. That's 82%, which basically the bottom line is you almost double your viable brood your bees fly. When you've got more numbers, you're going to have a stronger, healthy hive. You're going to be able to clean out that hive. You're going to be able to protect that hive. You're going to be able to guard that hive. You're going to be able to go out and bring in the nutrition you need. You're going to have the nutrition. As everybody knows, that you've only got 2.5 life cycles on a honeybee to be able to, the nurse bees, to be able to have enough to make the food that they need to put into the cell when the egg is laid in order to seal it off, in order for that bee to come out to be a viable bee. If you don't have that, if you're feeding just McDonald's ice cream cones morning, noon, and night for 1 month because of your sugar, high fructose corn syrup that you're feeding your bees without any nutrition in it, you're sucking all the nutrients out of it. So when you're doing that, the queen's still laying eggs, but you're only getting basically half of those eggs are turning into viable bees. So you're not going to get maximum critical mass, what I call critical mass. If you want to reach critical mass in the beehive, you have maximum nutrition. When you have maximum nutrition, then what happens is your immune system is at its peak efficiency. They're going to bring in the most feed. They're going to have the greater hygienic behavior. They're going to clean their hive better. They're going to have a much healthier. They're going to fan it. They're going to bring it in. They're going to air condition it better. So synergistically, the hive is much, much healthier. And the reality is why in the world not have your bees fight off the diseases? I'm a believer in my own life and in my family's life. I'm Dr. Carson. I was board certified by 2 major medical boards in the United States. I have a little bit of experience in medicine, a bit. I was the medical officer for the 2nd largest oil field service corporation in the world and something. So we've been around the block a little bit. When you have your nutritional needs met, and you're not you want to cut out anything white in your diet, white sugar, white flour, white rice. If you'll do these things and take these carbs out of there that turns into sugar, your health is exponentially better. If you'll work and you'll do these things. So if you can give an environment to the bee where the bee is not just living off of this high fructose corn syrup and off this garbage is what it is, garbage in, garbage out. You ever heard that? Oh, sure.
Oh, sure.
So garbage in, garbage out. So now just for instance, some of the ingredients now, I know this is going out over the internet, but we go to the fjords of Norway. And in the fjords of Norway, we go to the tidal pools and we suck out all this liquid that's in the tidal pools, which has all these micro and macronutrients flowing into these tidal pools and sitting there. We suck that out, we dehydrate that, we pulverize it into a powder. That's one of the ingredients that's incomplete. And so when you look at all these macro and micronutrients, there's a product in the world that's got something to do with seaweed. And we say, well, bless their heart. There's about 5 different kinds of kelps and things that we've had in ours for decades. We're not going to Walmart and we're not going to Home Depot and buying that fertilizer in a 1-gallon jug that is the exact same the seaweed that somebody else is spending $7 million on advertising and selling to beekeepers in a syrup base that has 3 little bit of essential oils in it.
Right.
Why in the world? Let's go to those fjords and let's take out all this natural in a pristine environment. Then another thing we do is we go to the Sea of Cortez and we go below 600 feet and we extract that water. We suck the water up out deeper than 600 feet because that's the natural level in the ocean there. And in the Sea of Cortez, and below that, there are all these macro and micro minerals that are out in it. They used to be on Earth, but they're all washed out now. So you have to go below 600 feet. We take that out of there. We dehydrate all of that like a desalination type of a plant. We take all those and those macro minerals in there. That's one more ingredient that's incomplete. And you know, we can see all these other guys are out there, they're producing this, that, and the other. Well, bless their heart. Bless your heart. That's all I can say. But that's
I mean, of course, you know, there's people just beating at the door to go 600 feet down in the ocean, and
well, they don't want to do that. It costs money. But the reality is, if you can make the highest quality product available, if you can give them everything it's like going to a full smorgasbord and having all available nutrition available to you, because you know, in our monoculture environments we have today, there's a lot of stressors. And our bees, when you get it, we have a customer up in Canada, and we send him product. He runs about 15 to 20,000 bees is all. And so we said, okay. He called me up one time. He says, Dr. Carson, he says, I am so mad at you. I said, what are you mad at me about? He says, we go into our hives and we fed complete like you said. I said, okay, that's fine. He said, no. He says, but we went back 2 to 3 weeks later. I said, what? Well, we went back 2 to 3 weeks later and they were almost all dead. I said, why? He says, because they starved to death. We have never seen so many bees in our life. We have never seen so many bees in our life. I said, I told you so. He said, I know, but I didn't believe you. Yeah. So he buys pallets and pallets and pallets now. You cannot. This is not Ron Pompey, the guy that used to sell cans of hair in a spray can and the set it and forget it stuff. You just can't set it and forget it. If you're going to go and if you want to have more bees and you want to have healthier bees and you feed it to them, whether you're doing it by a drench, whether you're doing it in a patty, whether you're doing it in their syrup, you cannot set it and forget it. You had better be prepared, because over that brood cycle, when you have 82% greater brood viability, measured, verifiable by computers, then I tell you what, you cannot set it and forget it. You better have some feed ready for them, because they'll have all the nutrition.
What you say is so true, and I've seen it with my own eyes, where, you know, hives that were down to 2 or 3 frames and suffering, you know, it probably was a bad, who knows what to begin with, but we get it, put it in our nursery, feed it complete, and within just, I mean, like you said, like that person, 2 or 3 weeks, we've got a full size 10 frame deep. It's amazing. As soon as that brood can start being well tended to, and the queen is, because she's going to lay with what the health of the hive tells her.
Sure. Yeah.
Because the queen's not in charge, the workers are in charge. And you are so spot on when you say that it will make all the difference. And boy, how do you better get ready? Because if you start using complete, you're gonna need to have extra boxes. You're gonna be needing to feed. You're gonna need to take care of these girls that are busting at the seams.
And the point is that if you want your bees to be absolutely as healthy as possible, I don't know any single environment in the United States. Now, overseas, when I travel about 60, 70 countries around the world, but you don't have all of the variety of things that they can possibly use. Mm-hmm. You know, in Alaska, you're feeding just on cottonwood pollen initially, and then you're going to get this, but it still isn't everything that they could possibly have. You can eat meat and potatoes is good, but it's nice to have a salad once in a while.
Sure.
And so if you will if you really care about your bees, the bottom line is, if you will use our system on an annual basis, it's going to cost you about $5 a year per hive. Now, what is one frame of bees worth? Now, how many dead outs do you get? Would you rather have your hive survive? Because a hive that doesn't survive the winter is not just that new package of bees. You're going to have the build-up time, and then there's a lot of other things involved. But you need to take care of your bees. My commercial beekeepers I'm within in Northern California here right now, we're within an hour of all of the major queen breeders in the United States. Mm-hmm. Within an hour of me, there are bazillions, tens and tens of thousands of queens produced. Our queen breeders that I know, it is nothing to feed at least 10 pounds of patties a year per hive. I know one queen breeder that produces tens of thousands of queens a year. He feeds on average 27 pounds of patties per year per hive on his breeders. All right, now we've got some folk out there that want to just buy the hive and think you're doing fine and set it and forget it. But when you buy a dog, do you just bring that little doggy home and say, okay, you fend for yourself? You feed that little dog, you brush that little dog, you rub that doggy's belly, and you play with that dog, and you buy him toys, and that dog tears up your slippers, and but you have a
you're happy and you're smiling the whole time.
Oh yeah, yeah. But why is it we don't do that same care to our bees?
I'm not sure. There's a mentality. I'm so glad you said that, because there is a mentality that set it and forget it. And, it's just not like that. We are in an environment, just like you said, that there is so much. I mean, when we think about our bodies and like what you say, we're carriers of the bees. Just think about they're this big. Everything they land on they're subject to what has happened to that before it got there.
Right.
I got inundated the other day with someone asking about, can I my lawn crew do a weed and feed on my grass? Well, they can, but your bees are going to suffer for it. There's something everywhere you look, and we're so many more beekeepers. And I know you know this, Joe, is so many more beekeepers are in suburban. We're in neighborhoods now. We've got some suburbs where there's just beekeeper after beekeeper in these postage stamps backyards, and we love it. Their honey's awesome, but they're so subject to all of these pathogens that are daily affecting bees.
There's a lot of challenges. And I will tell you this, in some of the most pristine areas I know, there's an airport. There's one major city in America today that I just saw a recent study that all of the honey that they checked in this pristine area where this airport is in a close proximity, all of the honey had a specific chemical that is found in jet fuel because of the blast and the exhaust. And these people are thinking, I'm in this beautiful, beautiful field. Well, understand this. If they're getting this in their honey, they're consuming it first. I mean, they have to make the honey, right? And they're putting it in the beef bread, and they're putting it in the hive, and they're feeding the babies it. Right. There's challenges in the world today. And I'm not saying we're going to change the world. But what I'm trying to say is, let's do the best we can in the environment we have. And if a little supplementation to give them the nutrition they need to build up their immune system, to give them the energy, to give them the mental acuity. Mental acuity is a real problem in honeybees today. Well, if you go to David Hackenberg and you go back to the old colony collapse disorder, the guys that I know way back then when that was first coined, and then all the different kinds of things they talked about, mental acuity is a real problem in humans as well. Anybody heard of? We have dementia, we have Alzheimer's and things. There is that same, almost in a different way, in the honeybees. Well, that is in many, and people can say what they want, but that is the root of that. Much of that is in environmental stressors. It isn't just, you go back, my grandpa was 3 months short of 100 years old living, and he lived where he was not near anything. My great auntie, she didn't make 105, she did 104 3/4, and they are working and they're having a full nutritional balance, and they're in an area where they can try to be as few stressors as possible. So that doesn't mean that, but why not give as much supplementation that is reasonable, that is effective, and has the efficacy that is purported to be there? Why not give them the best start? You send your children to school, hopefully you give your kids a vitamin, hopefully, because you don't know that your food that you're feeding your children is adequate. I mean, look at the sales at Costco. Costco is one of the biggest sellers, is vitamins to humans. And yet we don't think about supplementing our honeybees, in which we are going to take the byproduct of that, whether it's the propolis, whether it's royal jelly, whether it's going to be the pollen, whether it's going to be the honey. Why not have that the cleanest it can possibly be? Because if the bees are healthy, the hive is clean, the hive is healthy, the product is going to be a better product, and then you're consuming that product. Why would you want to go consume a product that is produced in a questionable, compromised hive environment?
Agreed.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And you talk about the progression. You know, the bees, those that are new to beekeeping, you're going to learn that every age has a duty. And as bees age into forager, there's a lot going on inside that hive. And they need to age into a forager. That hive depends on them to age into a forager. Let's just say that they didn't get the proper nutrition. It is real that a hive will not produce viable foragers to feed their hive. That will not go out. They will go and get lost, just like you're talking about the aspect. The bees will go and not make it back.
Right.
It's incredible to think that that can happen, but it truly does happen. That's when you see, and you talk about colony collapse disorder. I did a ton of research on that years ago. 2006 is when that phrase was coined. And super interesting because I mean, they really didn't know what that was. They thought it was tainted sugar. You remember corn syrup was the original, you know, well, it was just, it's the commercial beekeepers. They fed them bad. And oh yeah, that's why we got down to like this many bees, right? Just because, and they blamed it on California too. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
It's not. It was the environment. It was the environment. It's everything. I've seen picture graphs where it's got the airplanes like you're talking about, and the chemical plants and the concrete and this and that, and spraying your lawns, those beautiful manicured lawns and beautiful bluish ponds in the neighborhoods. How do you think it got that way?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Chemicals.
Well, people don't understand too. If you really want to be a beekeeper, first thing you need to decide in life is, do you want to be a beekeeper? And the reality is, if you don't want to be a beekeeper, if you really don't want to take care of your bees, then it's best that you probably go get a turtle. You know, put a turtle in an aquarium or something, a terrarium, and that's okay. But if you want to do bees, which I think is an honorable thing to do, I believe that I personally believe that every family that can ought to have at least one hive, because there was a study done, and this can be questioned or not, but the longest lived people in the world, one thing they had in common was that they were beekeepers. And this was done a couple of decades ago, but that was a thing that, and it isn't just that you're keeping bees, but that you're keeping the bees, you're concerned about your environment. You're looking at what they're doing. You're more concerned, you're more aware of what you're eating, what you're consuming. You're interacting with nature. And typically you're teaching your children this thing. It is an absolutely what I would consider to be an honorable thing to do to raise honeybees. It is something that connects you back with God's earth, and why in the world not? And people can talk about all they want, but I will tell you that when I look at I read a bit, I read a little bit. But even if you went back into the Bible, it says manna from heaven. I believe that is bee pollen. Bee pollen is a superfood. Okay, now bee pollen was brought in, it's little droplets of little kernels. Superfood, that and water will sustain life. It gets pretty boring after a while. But
they complained, but they also ate it too, didn't they?
But why not go and teach your family, your offspring, your those that you're with, produce your own honey, make your own candles. I mean, good grief, we got so many people burning stuff inside their homes, all these candles with all these fake scents and all this garbage in it. I'm telling you what, and then you're breathing all that mess. Why not raise your own? So if you want to have bees, then take care of them. If you want to do the very best you can to have as much bees, to do as much pollination, to have as great a crop, and have that your family produce your own tomatoes and your fruit trees and all these kinds of things, then I believe that's something that you want to do. In my family, we did dairy farm, and we raised our own silage. We had to do everything like that, and we found that when we had bees, everything was just better. And it is like the old canary in the mine as well. If the bees are not doing good, I got news for you. You had better look inside your own home, because if something is affecting that bee like that, you had better watch out. You're living in that exact same environment. What are you breathing in? What are you eating? What are you consuming? What are you getting? When you've got your car that's got these marks over the roof of the acid rain that's going on your car, well, my bees are not doing so good. Well, look at your car. Well, okay, but it is a great thing to be back in touch with something, and honeybees is the best way to do it, in my opinion.
And it's the mentality. That's what you're talking about. It's the mentality of a beekeeper. You know, it truly is an all-encompassing. It's how we live our life.
It becomes a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle, and I couldn't agree more that every household benefits from it. Not just the closeness and the camaraderie that it builds in a family environment or community environment, but that it does make you more aware of what's
Sure.
going on around you. Well,
That's what's lacking in the world today. Today we've got this Burger King mentality, and I'm not against Burger King, but it's have it your own way. And
yeah.
you cannot live in your home and have a cement yard and pull down your drapes and watch your 65,000-inch television in your little world like that. And you can't ignore your environment. You can't ignore what's going on outside. It's time that people, those that want to live a happy, more healthy, have better mental acuity, they are going to be beekeepers, in my opinion. Now, I've seen this. It doesn't mean that because you're a beekeeper, you're going to live forever. But why not have the greatest, why not have the very best health you can as long as you can?
And if we've got the ability to do that, we have the ability because we have minds and we have discernment, right? We learn that in the word as well.
Yeah.
We have discernment, and we know we can't, just like you said, can't eat McDonald's every day and have healthy bodies. If we've got a product that is available and it's so inexpensive over the long term, why wouldn't we take care of our bees?
Well, that's the point.
Why wouldn't we?
What are you investing in a box? You're going to buy a bottom board. You're going to buy a super. You're going to buy maybe 2 deeps. You're going to put a super on there. You're going to put a lid on there. You're going to put a feeder on there. You're going to do this. You're going to buy a package of bees for whatever the package of bees is. You're going to put a nuke in there. And if you want to go ahead, why not go? If it's $5 a year to have supplementation that is absolutely verifiable, going to give your bees the very best chance of survival they possibly can, then why in the world are you not going to do it? It's penny wise and pound foolish.
Oh,
it's
for
the
sure.
old British saying. We're stepping over. We're stepping over. Dollars to thinking about dimes. So that's what we need to be.
I want you to tell everyone the most optimal way how to use Complete.
I'll tell you.
I want you to tell out of your words.
I'll tell you what. I have some customers now. Understand that I'm in California at the moment, and so you know why they call it the cereal state, right?
The cereal state?
The cereal state, yeah. Without all the fruits and nuts, all you got left's the flakes. Okay, so.
But we love our California beekeeper.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying that.
That's a very good. That was good. That was good.
Complete's kind of like crack cocaine. I tell you, I know some beekeepers that would just take and wish their wives would dab a little bit right underneath around their ears. Because I'll tell you what, you crack that puppy open. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, the bees love this stuff. So you have 3 ways to apply it. So you want to feed it to your bees. So what's the best way to get it in? Drenching is always the fastest way to get it into the system, because when you drench, you're going to take an old-fashioned watering can. Watering can. And if you need to, I'm giving a class that's $29.95. I'll promote this right now. We will give you a YouTube degree, and we'll show you a video on how to fill it up and how to dispense and pour out a watering can. But you will have an official YouTube certificate of completion for this class. And $29.95. But wait, there's more. So basically, you mix up your Complete at the recommended amount, which in a drench would be 1 teaspoon into a coffee cup, 8 ounces. So that together, you'd mix that up into a larger amount, and however many hives you have, you just lift it up, lift your watering can up, and you're going to drench over the top of your frames. And I prefer to take a piece of hardware cloth, which is 1/8-inch square cloth, and just lay it on the top. So do your hive inspection. Okay, everything looks fine. Put a piece of hardware cloth there, a screen, and drench over the top of the screen. Then pick the screen up, tap it, get the drips off, and move it away. What happens is we've measured this. I actually designed and invented a whiz bang Star Trek, Star Wars, stainless steel whiz. I mean, it was solarly exciting and all stuff. And we had published a paper on how bad it failed compared to a watering can. We have 28% greater distribution of droplets by just putting a piece of hardware cloth on the top and drenching it. Now, when you drench it, you're going to put about 8 inches over a double deep box. Now, if you only got 1 deep, then you put 4 ounces. It's not rocket science here. Right. Okay, so you want to mix it up. 1 teaspoon of Complete goes into 8 ounces of 1-to-1 sugar syrup, not 2-to-1. If you mix it to 2-to-1, then what happens is the thicker the syrup, the more they store it away. They don't consume it immediately. When you mix it at a 1-to-1 or even thinner and you drench it, they say, oh, it's wet. We must clean it up immediately. And within 3 to 4 hours, we've measured it. In 3 to 4 hours, it's exactly, totally 100% gone. We've tested it, drenched it one day, came back the next day and pulled the honey, and zero residual left. Nothing. They sucked it right up. So if you want to get that into it, say, hey, man, I've got it looks like my bees have got a gut issue, something going on here. What's going on here? Let's drench it really quick. They're going to suck it up, and that they're going to clean it out. Now, if you chose to use this yourself because you have a gut issue, I would recommend you doing it on a Friday night. And I would perhaps have a movies ready to go, but have the runway kind of cleared out to the facilities in case you had an urging of a physical urging.
Right. I've heard you say that before.
What the reality is, though, I'll tell you this, that the carrier of the whole complete product is called Nosovit, and that was designed for humans in Yugoslavia. So everything we make is human grade. Now, I'm not recommending you do that at all. I'm not, because
but it's safe enough to do that.
It'll clean you out. And you don't want to be on a 14-hour flight from Atlanta to Johannesburg and take this prior to doing that. Otherwise, sharing is not caring. So,
that's hilarious.
But
well,
you want to go
the screen idea.
You got drench it on. Yeah, put a screen. All you do is you carry. My commercial guys carry about a half a dozen pieces of screen because they're going to lose one. So you go ahead and do your hive inspection. Do it over the top like that. With the screen right there. Take the screen off. Tap it. If you're going to put a patty on, then the same thing with a patty. You put in 1 teaspoon of complete into a 1 pound finished weight of patty. So you go back in there. If you're going to do it in a patty, have your patties already pre-made up. So you go in there, you drench it, slap a patty on, put the lid on and go. Because those that are in the hive immediately will get that immediate cleansing benefit. But those that are out foraging, they come back in, it's already dried up. In 3 to 4 hours, it's totally clean. So then they're going to be able to feed on the patty. When they feed on the patty, they're going to get that benefit as well. So you want to do it now. So in a patty, it's 1 teaspoon into a 1 pound finished weight. In a drench, it's going to be 1 teaspoon goes into an 8-ounce cup for a double deep hive. It makes no sense to pour 16 ounces on because it just hits the bottom board, flows out the front.
Sure.
So that doesn't make sense. Just do it simple. The other thing is you put it into your feeder. If you've got a hive top feeder, you've got a frame feeder, whatever your feeder happens to be, you mix it up in there at 1/4 of the recommended rate. So you put in a teaspoon, goes into a quart of syrup, just so that is an ongoing, like you're giving your children a 1-a-day vitamin. Right. They're going to get that. They're going to feed it up, and they're going to get this fine. And so those are the 3 ways. Immediately, if you need curative, your bees, we got a problem here. You want to drench, but only drench it when it is absolutely warm because you don't want to put your bees to bed wet. So you're going to be 60, 70 degrees at least, depending on where you are. In Alaska, our bees will fly at 35 degrees, but we still don't drench at 35 because it's too cold inside. They're going to get like hypothermia. So we don't do that. So do it. You want to drench it. Set your iPhone, okay? 11 o'clock in the day, start running through all your hives. My guys that run, say, 10,000 hives, they're going to go out there. They're going to start drenching at 10 o'clock in the morning in California because we're already 70 degrees, and they're going to run through, and they'll get through a few thousand hives a day, easy, because they run a big cruise. So they're going to drench that. They're going to go through. You drench. You want to drench. Anytime you feed your bees, you want complete in the feed. That's the bottom line. So if your bees are not bringing in enough forage, and I tell people, feed your bees until they no longer take the feed, because then they would always prefer to have nectar from something out there, right? So feed your bees until they no longer want to feed, and then go ahead and remove your feed, and then you're into environmental feed. No problem. So drenching, curative. You got an issue, drench them immediately in warm weather. You want to do that, and I would recommend you do that 4 times, 4 days apart. You want to give about 3 days in there so that they have 3 or 4 days so they have time to go and they're recuperating, and then you're going to have additional hatch happen during that time. So when you do that, you're going to have, it creates a hygienic behavior. We don't need to be buying all these whiz-bang, latest hygienic label, patented, high dollar, some of these bees sometimes, because you're going to create, we've got pictures of this. A friend of mine is a nuclear physicist. He runs an institute, kind of like MIT, in France. And so him and I are colleagues. And so we put in 27 sensors into every single hive and tested them. We can tell you every single frame, where the bees are on every single frame, the temperature on every single one, the weight gain, the loss, the humidity, and all that kind of stuff. And we know that when we feed it, that they're going to be 3 to 4 days later, how many new bees have emerged, how many bees have died off just from old age, how many bees are going to be rotating through their next cycle or next duty, next position of their lifestyle as a bee, whether they're a nurse bee, a worker bee, a forage bee, whatever they're going to be. So when you drench it, you come back about 4 days later, you do it again, you're hitting a new crop, and you do it again and again, and you would better be prepared. Your bees are going to be flat out. I'm telling you, it's like crack cocaine, baby. You put that on there. We have pictures. They're going to be standing at the lid right there. They're little tongue, and they're ready for it. I'm telling you, they like
I know.
it because bees and animals know what's good for them.
They do.
They know it. They know it no different than you or I. When I see a woman craving something, somebody come to my office and say, doctor, I got this person is craving something. That craving tells me immediately that they have something in their life that they're missing. It's usually a macro or micronutrient, usually a mineral. But so the bees know what they're needing as well. So when feed them as soon as you can in the springtime, put it in the syrup, put it in the patty, and then drench it on when the weather is good. And as soon as you're getting into a good flow, boom, shut it off. No big deal. Done. You're done. You're done. Come fall, start doing it again. And you're in Texas. You're what? The bee supply. You're in Texas. Yes. Texas bee supply, commercial bee supply. You're the bee supply. So in your country, you want to start again after you pull your supers. You want to prepare for the winter time. You want to give them the best chance of survival. You start feeding them again. You slap on that syrup. You put on a patty. When they quit taking the patty, quit putting a patty on. It's just that simple. It's not rocket science. You can handle this. Beekeeper, it's okay. You can do it.
Yes.
So put the feed on, pull your supers. Life's good. Let them clean up your supers. However you do that, put the feed on it. Fill up some syrup. Put on a patty. Put on a patty. Put on a patty. But put on a patty. Put on a patty that's decent though.
Global. Global,
I
I can't say enough about that. Global's been proven by other people studying that it's just a superior product.
Yeah, and so, but that's what you want to do. So get that in there, put complete it, and it's going to cost you, like I said, about $5 a year. Now that's all your spring feeding. That's your fall feeding. Yeah. Now we do have some other products that you use in the summertime called Bee Cleanse, which you folks carry as well. And Bee Cleanse is very, very good to drop down your pathogens. It's like a body wash for honeybees because there's a lot of stuff coming in. I mean, most people I know take a shower at least once a week.
On Wednesdays.
On Wednesday. Well, Saturday night's okay too. But you want to, Bee Cleanse is a good thing in the summertime. So when we're not feeding complete in the summertime, we switch to Bee Cleanse because then you have pathogens drop down mightily. No more of the antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial, antiviral.
Right.
Bee Cleanse is all of that. And so you're getting the full strength nose of it, which is the carrier for it. You're getting that internal and external cleansing just by giving them that drenched stuff. It's only by drench in the summertime. And all you're doing is you're going to inspect a hive. When you inspect your hive, okay, how's we doing? The queen looks right. Okay, we got some cells going good. Okay, we don't know supersedure. Okay, we're looking okay. Things are all right. Maybe we need to do some checkerboarding. You know what checkerboarding is?
I do.
Okay, when we checkerboard, sometimes, okay, we move some frames and we checkerboard. Okay, we're swarming season, let's check that, so let's do it right. Very last thing you do, put your screen on, give it a drench of Bee Cleanse, put the lid on and go. And I'll tell you what, when you get to the end of the year, we have people that no longer have to put on any zero fumigillin, zero tactic, Kumafos, whiz-bang, DDT under a new name, with all this garbage in there that you're because guess where that stuff goes? It goes into your wax. And then what are you doing? You're taking the wax, you're extracting the wax, and you're going to make a candle. So then you're burning a candle with Kumafos in it. Or you're trying to make your lip balm, and so you're rubbing lip balm on your lips, and you've got tactic and Kumafos and all these terramycins and all this other stuff in your face, and you're making lotions and balms. It doesn't make sense. So that is a very simple thing to do. Build them up in the spring, keep them clean in the summer, build them up for the fall, put them to bed, and life is good. You've done the best you can for your honeybees.
How can you top that? I think we ought to end it there. How can you top that? I found this in my desk, and of course it's going to look backwards to everybody, but this is this is your card you were passing out at the Bee Expo in January, where we saw you in an airport. I'm going to tag this video with some links to your product. And I can't tell you, Joe, how I get so enthused every time we talk. I think that you're an absolute blessing to the beekeeping industry. And I know that you are in other industries and helping third world countries with things that people don't even know anything about. And your biblical tie is just inspiring to me. I just truly admire you. You're a good guy.
Well, the reality is we just put our pants on one leg at a time. And I believe that no matter whether we're beekeeping or anything we do in life, we ought to do the very best we can. We ought to be ethical. We ought to have morals. We ought to be honest. And we ought to be thrifty. I grew up farming, and farmers are thrifty. And so I want to make sure that what we do, we get the biggest bang for our buck. So why in the world? Let's do the best we can with what God has given us. And yeah, I think it'll all work out.
Yeah, I think it'll all work out too. Thanks for joining me, Joe.
It's
Really,
been a pleasure.
truly.
Just keep your bees going, keep your bees happy, and keep it now. I know Blake, your boss, and the Bee Supply is good people. I've known Blake since he was a teenager, and
yesterday.
Yeah, well, I don't know what he is. He's
been a minute, but he looks like a teenager.
He still looks like it. But one thing that I will tell you is that I believe that your company is honest and ethical.
Thank you.
And here's another side thing is that I've been approached by many, many, many companies saying, hey, we want to sell your product, blah, blah, blah. And I only have distributors selling our product who I can shake hands with and not worry about. And so I believe that your company, the Bee Supply, is an honest and ethical company. And I think that your people, I've talked to your folks, whether they're in North Dakota and wherever, and they're just going to tell you the truth. If there's a better product, they're going to tell you. If you don't need it, they're going to tell you don't need it. This is what you need. And so that's rare today. And so these other companies who have approached me, even as of just a couple of weeks ago, trying to go to the back end actually around to some of my people to get me to do it. We're just not going to do it. Life is too short, and so I thank you for what you're doing, and I appreciate your stance and your commitment to being honest and ethical, and that's rare in the business industry today, so I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for saying so, and we appreciate you saying that, and your opinion really matters to us. Thanks, Joe, and I'll put a link to your product, and I'm certain that everybody's going to want to know more even later on. So we'll visit again. How's that?
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks, Joe. Bye.
Bye-bye.